Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Adelina Syakinawaty Dongoran. Now I will explain about culture shock and cultural conflict. Let's begin. Definition of culture shock. The term culture shock was first mentioned in the literature by Alvaro Obert in 1960. In his article, Obert defined culture shock as follows. Culture shock is triggered by the anxiety resulting from the loss of all familiar signs, the symbol of social relation. Signs or cues include 1,001 ways in which we orient ourselves to everyday life situation. The definition of culture shock is the trauma you experience when you move into a culture different from your home culture. Culture shock is the personal disorientation a person may feel when experiencing an unfamiliar way of life due to immigration or a visit to a new country, or to a move between social environments, also a simple travel to another type of life. A. Cause of culture shock. 1. Besides language barrier, frustration, anxiety and stress also occur whenever people can do all things they are accustomed to doing in their everyday lives. They can include activity related to work, home and leisure. For example, sometimes because of differences in the transportation service, people cannot move around as freely or as widely as they are accustomed to. Additional issues such as telecommunication system, things like grocery shopping, the station system, getting to work, and other things can lead to frustration also. 2. Another source of considerable distress for some people is not being able to eat the food they are accustomed to. 3. And lastly is the issue of values. A person can experience considerable stress and anxiety when they are living in a different culture with different values from their own. The areas of religion, moral behavior, justice, and fair play, racial equality, work ethic, and privacy are areas where there may a great deal of cultural relativism, and people living and working overseas need to learn to deal with these differences in a relaxed, non-judgmental way. B. The symptoms of shock culture. Although culture shock is generally understood as a temporary shock felt when confronted by different culture costumes, ways of thinking and behavior patterns, it actually refers to a psychological state of depression caused by the experience of successive failures in unfamiliar social situations. Culture shock is a temporary, and everybody goes through it to some extent in the process of cultural adaptation. General symptoms of culture shock include 1. Irritation, 2. Homesickness, 3. Loneliness, 4. Nervousness, 5. Loss of appetite, 6. Sleeplessness, 7. Feeling tired, and 8. Extreme pride in one's home culture, 6. Hypersensitivity or excitability, 10. Confusion, and 11. Incompetence, and etc. C. The stage of shock culture and cultural adjustment. Culture shock can be described as consisting of at least one of 4 distinct phases: honeymoon, negotiation, adjustment, and mastery. During the honeymoon phase, the differences between the old and new culture are seen in a romantic light. During the first few weeks, most people are fascinated by the new culture. They associate with nationals who speak their language and who are polite to the foreigners. This period is full of observation and new discoveries. Like most honeymoon periods, this stage eventually ends. Negotiation. After some time, usually around 3 months, depending on the individual, differences between the old and new culture become apparent in migrate and city. This is the mark of the negotiation phase. The most important change in the period is communication. People adjusting to a new culture often feel lonely, the homesick because they are not yet used to the new environment and meet people with whom they are not familiar every day. Adjustment. One grows accustomed to the new culture and develops routines, marking the adjustment phase. One starts to develop problem solving skills for dealing with the culture and begins to accept the culture with a positive attitude. The culture begins to make sense, and a negative reactions and response to the culture are reduced. Mastery. In the mastery stage, the signers are able to participate fully and comfortably in the host culture. Mastery does not mean total conversion. People often keep many traits from their earlier culture, such as accents and language. It is often referred to as the deculturation stage. D. Coping shock culture. Culture shock can be prevented by striving to become more culturally relativistic and flexible in the thinking and behavior, by developing a real enthusiasm for learning about the host culture and by forming real intercultural relationships. Successful cross-cultural communication is a fairly straightforward proposition. When a person begins to move further along the continuum of cross-cultural understanding and interaction, they will more quietly put down ego identity towards the new host culture and feel more at ease with themselves and their surroundings. They will understand more, they'll be understood more by others. In short, they will have become bicultural individuals. Definition of cultural conflict. Cultural conflict is a type of conflict that occurs when different cultural values and beliefs clash. Intercultural communication is a communication between members of the different cultures. The definition is simple, but the process is complex. Intercultural communication involves different perception, attitudes, and interpretation. We know that even two people from the same culture and have communication problems. Cultural doesn't communicate, individuals do. Everyone has a unique style of communication, but culture stages a general style for its members. The relationship between the individual and his culture is analogous to that an actor and his director. A. The cause of cultural conflict. 1. Ethnocentrism often entails the belief that one's our race or ethnic groups is the most important, or that some or all aspects of its culture are superior to those of other groups. Ethnocentrism is usually related to language, behavior, costumes, and religion. This ethnocentrism attitude causes people become critical of individuals from different cultures. 2. Misinterpretation happens because people fail to interpret the verbal and non-verbal communication correctly. As we know that non-verbal language is more difficult than non-verbal language because one culture to another has a different sign and meaning system. 3. Stereotypes are generalization of people groups based on past experience, which are deep-rooted in the psyche of the people. Negative stereotypes may lead to produce suspicion, intolerance, or hatred toward members of other cultural groups. B. Dealing with cultural conflict. There are some ways dealing with cultural conflict. 1. If we are subjected to upsetting or offensive behavior, or if you witness such as a thing happening to someone else, clearly, firmly, and simply state that behavior is upsetting. 2. If the behavior is offensive but not threatening or aggressive, whether the person apologizes or says nothing, let go the first time. 3. If the behavior is threatening or aggressive, or if the offensive behavior recurs, tell someone and follow the guidelines. 4. If you feel unable to comfort the situation directly, or if we are unsure about whether or not act upon something promptly, discuss the issue with someone such as a friend, colleague, supervisor, employee, advisor, or concluder. 5. No matter who is involved in the negative interaction, whether the offensive behavior is directed at you or we witness it happen to someone else, it is important that some action is taken promptly. Thank you for watching my slide presentation. This is all I can say more, and I apologize. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.